lean in and look closely at what is happening right now, because if you aren't paying attention to the subtext, you are missing the most important story in professional sports. We need to have a very raw, very direct conversation about the state of the narrative. We need to stop the posturing, stop the corporate speak, and stop the calculated omissions that are starting to define the coverage and the camaraderie within the WNBA. The time for playing games is over. The time for pretending that we don't see what is right in front of our faces has reached its expiration date. We are currently witnessing a phenomenon that can only be described as the erasure of the obvious. It is a coordinated, perhaps subconscious, but undeniably persistent effort to withhold the one thing that is due: credit. We are watching legendary figures and active teammates perform a linguistic dance, a rhetorical gymnastics routine, just to avoid uttering a specific name in a positive light. That name is Caitlin Clark, and the more she performs, the more she carries, and the more she saves, the louder the silence from her peers becomes. It is a silence that has become deafening. It is a silence that tells a story far more accurately than any box score ever could. Let's talk about the tape. Let's talk about the post-game podium, because what we saw recently with Kelsey Mitchell wasn't just a standard interview. It was a masterclass in the art of the selective shout-out.
Is that, y'all, we got so many great pieces. I think Soph sealed the deal with 11 round by herself. And I think you just got to gut check a lot. And I think that once we discipline ourselves to not let teams back in it, I think we give ourselves in a better chance.
Kelsey, this is Cheryl Miller.
Okay, so you brought up Sophie. I don't know where, nobody asked. Okay, you brought up Sophie.
Please describe that one three-point shot that you put up after you dribbled everywhere, except around to the half court and back and around in the paint and everything else. But it wasn't a play that Coach White designed. But, man, you are picking and choosing and looking so good out there on the perimeter.
I think it's just about finding my spots. I'm gonna lie to y'all. I saw a BG and I was like, not a good idea.
Rethink.
So let me do it again. Let me rethink. And I just think, I gotta take my spots and find the shots that I really want to take and not let nobody force me into any of them.
When you watch Mitchell speak, you see a veteran player who understands the game, who knows the grind, and who is quick to hand out flowers to almost everyone in the building. She will talk about Sophie Cunningham, the blonde bomber, and her incredible 11-0 run that electrified the, some might call it, and when it finally goes in, there's an expectation of applause. But where is the reciprocal respect?
Hey, Kelsey, it's Sue. Go on runs.
People now on their stuff and doing what they need to do, personnel-wise, knowing the defensive schemes. Everything that matters is the details. I think we hold each other accountable and we try to get to the next play. And hopefully you stop teams from making a run.
Hey, talk about a little bit about the contributions of Sophie Cunningham. She was sensational.
Yeah, I think the idea, though, guys, is just that the more people, the better. I think we all can pour in. This group is special because each person could do something really, really good. And I think that Soph just got our moment. And it's our goal to always make sure when people are hitting, come back to them. And so that's the idea.
Why is it that when the game is on the line, the ball finds its way back to Caitlin Clark, yet when the microphones are live, the credit finds its way to everyone else? This isn't just about one interview. It's about a pattern of behavior that suggests a deep-seated reluctance to admit that the rookie is the one bailing the team out. It's about the fact that Caitlin Clark has been saving Stephanie White's job for the last 3 games, providing a level of elite play that masks systemic issues. Even when we look back at the game against the Chicago Sky, where Aaliyah Boston was a force of nature with a 30-point double-double, the underlying reality remains.
Crazy stat that exists where when Caitlin shoots better than 40%, they win. And 40% is achievable.
Yeah.
Like that should be like what she averages on the year. So whenever she shoots well, they play well. And I think that just speaks to shot selection, ball movement. She got some easier looks.
Yeah.
Maybe Trista was right on Connecticut's defense.
Clark is the catalyst. She is the gravity that pulls the defense away. She is the one making the passes that should lead to 15 assists if her teammates could simply convert the damn missed layups that haunt the highlight reels. But if the silence from the locker room is unsettling, the commentary from the legends is where the mask truly slips. Let's turn our attention to Sue Bird. When we talk about Sue Bird, we are talking about royalty. We are talking about one of the greatest minds to ever grace the hardwood, which is why her recent analysis of Caitlin Clark's performance against the Connecticut Sun is so jarring. It wasn't just a critique, it was a dismissal disguised as observation. Sue Bird looked at a 25.5 assist performance, a game where Clark was efficient and dominant, and she didn't see greatness. She didn't see a rookie adjusting to the professional level and overcoming a championship caliber defense.
They play well, and I think that just speaks to shot selection, ball movement.
Oh, her shot selection. Okay.
She got some easier looks.
Yeah.
Maybe Trista was right on Connecticut's defense, and that they give up the three quite a bit. So I think when you have an efficient play, you can get over those lulls.
Yes.
You can find ways to withstand them.
Yeah. She plays poorly, it's because she isn't ready for the big leagues. It is a no-win scenario created by those who cannot hide their bias anymore. It is oozing out of the conversation. You can't even disguise it at this point because the contradiction is too glaring to ignore. Contrast how Sue Bird talks about Sophie Cunningham versus how she talks about Caitlin Clark. When Sophie goes on an 11-0 run, it's because Sophie is a bomber, because Sophie is doing her thing, and because the team did a great job of finding her. Notice the shift.
I actually talked about veteran presence when I was talking about Olivia Nelson-Ododo, just how she was starting to become that. Sophie is that. And I think we've seen that in her career. We haven't seen it as of late. Obviously, she had the elbow injury, kept her out last game. But that's why you have a player like this on the team. She's somebody who's been to the finals. She understands what it takes in those moments. So it can kind of get a little, delusional in a sense, where you just go in, and they did a great job of finding her.
In Sophie's case, the success is internal. It is a credit to her skill and the team's execution. Bird doesn't say, well, Sophie only had that run because the Sun defense was falling apart. No, the Sun's defense only becomes trash when the person scoring the points is Caitlin Clark. When it's Clark hitting the threes, it's because the defense gives up shots. When it's anyone else, it's because they are elite. Isn't it obvious? I keep asking this question. Hashtag, isn't it obvious? The double standard is so thick you could cut it with a... Why is Caitlin Clark still going on these podcasts? Why is she doing favors for people who clearly harbor this level of resentment? It is nonsense. It is a level of foolishness that the fans are starting to see straight through. You can ignore the obvious if you want. You can pretend that these are just objective basketball takes. But when you see the pattern, when you see Kelsey Mitchell crediting the entire roster except for the person carrying the load, and you see Sue Bird attributing a masterclass performance to a defensive collapse, you realize this isn't about basketball analysis. This is about ego. This is about a league that is struggling to reconcile its past with a future that arrived much faster and much louder than they expected. Let's get into the reality of that Connecticut Sun game. We are talking about a player who put up 25 and 5, but those 5 assists are a lie. They are a statistical mirage that doesn't account for the reality of the game. If you watch the tape, Caitlin Clark should have had 15 assists. 15. She was threading needles, finding players in stride, and putting the ball exactly where it needed to be. But the ball didn't go in. Layup after layup was blown. Open looks were squandered. And yet, despite being let down by the finishing ability of her teammates, she still put the team on her back and willed them to a victory. She has been bailing this team out for 3 straight games. She has been the difference between a total collapse and a fighting chance. And what is her reward? Her reward is a locker room where her name is skipped in the credits. Her reward is a media landscape where legends try to explain away her brilliance as a fluke of the opposing team's schedule or defensive effort. Kelsey Mitchell, we have to keep it real. You have to figure out a way to give this girl some credit. You are talking about Sophie and Monique and all these great pieces, and you're doing it while Caitlin is the one providing the gravity that allows those pieces. The hate is no longer a whisper, it's a shout. It's in the way they frame the conversations. It's in the way they look at the camera. It's in the way they try to pivot to any other player, any other storyline, or any other excuse just to avoid saying, Caitlin Clark is the best player on this floor, and we would be lost without her. Why is it so hard to say? Why is the truth so... I don't care how many rings you have or how much you've done for the game. When you use your platform to systematically devalue the performance of a young player who is bringing millions of eyes to your sport, you are acting out of spite, not expertise. You are trying to protect a narrative that the old guard was just as good, just as impactful, and just as efficient. And it's a myth, and it's one that is being dismantled every time Clark steps on the court. The goalposts are on wheels, and the people holding the handles are the ones who should be the most supportive. Welcome to the reality of the situation. We have to stir the pot because the pot is already boiling over. You cannot have this level of talent being met with this level of disrespect and expect the fans to just sit back and stay quiet. We see it. We see straight through the disguised hate. We see the foolishness of trying to credit an 11-0 run to the shooter while blaming 25 points on the defense. It's a logical pretzel that only a hater could twist themselves into. Caitlin Clark is saving jobs. She is saving ratings. She is saving the 25-5. You can try to pretend the missed layups don't count, and you can try to credit the Suns' bad defense for a rookie's dominance. But at the end of the day, the results are in the books. The impact is visible in the stands, and the credit is written in the stars, even if her teammates won't say it in the interviews. We are done with the games. We are done with the excuses. It's time to respect the game, respect the talent, and respect the fact that Caitlin Clark is exactly who we thought she was, and more. If that's hard for the veterans to swallow, then maybe it's time for them to take a long look in the mirror and ask themselves why they're so afraid of a little bit of credit. Get down in the comments and let me know what you think. Is it just me? Or is the disguised hate becoming the primary language of the WNBA elite? Are you seeing the same omissions in these interviews? Are you tired of the bad defense excuses every time a certain player has a big night? For the narratives they are spinning, who will? This is the vision. This is the reality. And we aren't going to stop calling it out until the respect matches the performance. It is what it is. A hater is a hater, whether they're wearing a jersey or holding a microphone. And right now, there's a whole lot of hating going on for a league that should be celebrating its brightest star. I'm out, but stay tuned because this story isn't going anywhere and neither are we. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell because the truth doesn't take a day off and neither does the grind. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.